Hi, folks. Mark Merrill with Firm. The Journals. What's going down? Or is it fake? The latest rebuke and or rant and no resolve comes from Democratic Socialist candidate, we call him for U.S. Senate, Graham Platner, on the far side. Of course, a picture of Susan Collins, the lady that he's trying to unseat in November of 2026. At one of his rallies, he had two on Thursday, January 29th, one in Portland early in the morning on a real cold day, and then Bangor at noontime. And on that very frigid, blustery Thursday, with about 150 shivering protesters, but at least rowdy, radical, as you might think, supporters of Mr. Platner, kind of sounded a little bit disorganized, folks. Here's what I mean by that. Just to give you a taste of it.
Shit, why not? Throw them all in jail.
They work for the fucking sheriff's department. Jesus Christ.
I don't know what to do. And the only thing I can do is that's the only thing we can do. At times of national crisis, this country has looked to me before, and they are now as well. In a hot day in July, men from Maine, from Bangor, from Waterville, from Alna, from small towns and big cities all across the nation, they stood on top of the hill in Pennsylvania. And they said, no further. And we defended the Union that day. And we saved this country. And we will do it again. Yeah. In solidarity, we do it by standing shoulder to shoulder with our fellow Mainer. Our fellow Mainer, whether they were born here, whether they were born in Senegal, whether they were born in Rwanda, whether they were born in Mexico. I've come too far. We can do hard things. We're standing out here. This is a big protest, folks. And it is my incredible honor to introduce my friend in just a moment. But I want to remind you.
What a tease.
I know, right? What a teaser. I want to remind you that we can elect Graham Platner.
Just a segment, folks. And, okay, I grant you, that was kind of a little noisy and a little rough around the edges. But upcoming, folks, on this audio is Graham Platner with some of his rhetoric and accusations on that day, Thursday, the 29th of January, right up there in front of Susan Collins' Bangor campaign office. And all of the extra piling on, if you will, by Mr. Platner on the Trump administration, not just Susan Collins, but also ICE and Border Patrol officers, among other politicians. He did have a bullhorn with him, so most of this audio right here coming up, folks, is a bit better. So here's what Mr. Platner had to say in regard to those issues.
And we can turn the Senate blue. But unless we do the hard work and system that keeps Susan Collins in office, that put armed thugs on our streets to abduct our neighbors, then those systems will still own us. We need to dismantle those systems. No tease this time. Now we're going to hear from my good friend. He's as steadfast as Katahdin. He's as hard as Winter's Rain. He's our next senator, Mr. Graham
Anthony will definitely get me quoting my favorite song. So, thank you all for being out here today. It's cold, but it's Maine, so it doesn't matter.
There's nowhere else we could be.
It's good to see you, man.
Good to see you, man.
Thank you for turning out. I know we called this thing just a few hours ago, so the fact that we got this turned out on a freezing cold day, on a work day, means a hell of a lot. Initially, the plan was that we were going to just call on Senator Collins to vote no on more money for ICE. But this morning, she came out and said that she's got a pinky promise from Kristi Noem that ICE's operations in Maine are going to slim down.
Not enough.
That's not enough. One, I don't believe it. This is an administration that continually breaks the law, does not respect the law. We are 40 days past when the law said the Epstein files were supposed to be released. Here we find ourselves. So I do not believe what Kristi Noem says. But more importantly, it is not enough to just bring operations down in tempo. ICE needs to be out of Maine. Senator Collins is going to try to use this moment to trick us, to say that she somehow used her power to impose upon ICE. We all know it's nonsense. What she's actually doing is trying to justify to us why she is about to try to give them $9 billion more in funding. An agency that we have witnessed in this state in just the last week kidnap employees of county sheriff's departments, abduct fathers, bringing food to their newborn children, taking Maine residents who are here legally with no criminal record. This is illegal and unconstitutional behavior, and an agency that is capable of that deserves not one single penny. We also have to remember the reason she's doing this is because she and the Republican Party have refused to strip DHS funding out of the larger funding bill. They could have put it separate. Therefore, the argument over it would not drive us towards a government shutdown. If we go into a government shutdown, it's not because Democrats got us there. It's because Republicans would rather close the government than not give more money to an agency that in the past few weeks has murdered American citizens in cold blood. One of those victims was Alex Preddy, killed last Saturday, executed in the street by masked federal agents, and then the administration had the gall to say that the reason he needed to die was because he was carrying a legal firearm. As someone who still occasionally carries a legal firearm, because I use my constitutional rights as an American and a Mainer, it is beyond disgusting to watch this administration use that as justification for the murder of an American hero. What is important to remember is once we have won this, once we get ICE out of Maine, once we defund and dismantle that agency, do not let people in power tell you that they gave it to you. It was because of you that that's going to happen.
That's, ladies and gentlemen, about all the time we're going to give Mr. Platner. He did go on for, I would say, another several 10 or 15 minutes at that rally. At least you got to give the protesters, or I should say the protesters against the Trump administration and for Mr. Platner, have pretty much dedicated themselves no matter what the weather. But now, Maine citizens and all good law-abiding Americans, it's time for the facts, the real facts, of what Susan Collins has planned for immediate legislation. You may already know from the newscasts, but we're going to do it as well, just to round out the podcast today about what's going down, or is it fake? The legislation that she proposed on the Senate floor was to not only keep the United States budget up to date, but to include funding. As you heard, part of it from Mr. Platner, but not altogether accurate, for Department of Homeland Security, ICE, and the Customs Border Protection. So with that in mind, folks, we have some brief details on all of that information that Ms. Collins has put through to get past and keep our country safe and secure. Now, what is happening, as of that information received on late in the day, January 29th, Ms. Collins called for new funding to equip ICE with body-worn cameras. You might have heard that. But Mr. Platner claims that Republicans in Congress have gifted ICE $18 billion to terrorize communities and kidnap our neighbors, says he. He says Collins is leading the charge on an $8 billion additional package for ICE and says this must stop. But earlier in the week, before January 29th, Ms. Collins urged Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem to pause the increase of ICE activity in both Maine and Minnesota, and at the same time, making sure that there's allocations or appropriations for ICE, DHS, and Border Patrol around the entire Department of Homeland Security. Now, to present day, folks, an interesting occurrence happening by the Portland City Fathers, or the council, if you will, including the mayor, Mr. Dion, decided to go ahead and close down Portland businesses on January 30th to be in solidarity, they claim, for those impacted by ICE operations. Oh, really? Is that right? Just another slam at the Trump administration, ICE, and Kristi Noem. We'll show them. We'll close down businesses and everything. Oh, what about the schools, though? Kids still have to go to school, you know, Mr. Dion. Didn't say anything about closing schools on a school day. But, of course, they demand special rights and special attention. While some state officials are calling for ICE to leave Maine, others are pushing for more transparency while they're here. And that includes, as what you just heard, that Susan Collins is going to make sure that the ICE officials and officers are going to start wearing body-worn cameras. Now, in addition, there is a move afoot. Recently, Democratic leaders were going to meet and discuss ICE enforcement in the state. Now, Mr. Homan, Tom Homan, has already met with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and also the mayor over there, Mr. Fry, earlier in the week. But as of June, here's an update, folks. 4,000 cameras for a workforce of about 22,000 from the Homeland Security Committee, while Customs and Border Patrol has 13,400 cameras for a workforce of more than 45,000. Now, documents also show Trump's administration pushed to cut funding for a larger rollout of body cameras within ICE, although Congress has so far rejected that. Surprise, surprise, surprise. She says they should be required to be worn by any officer on the ground. ICE is not leaving Maine, ladies and gentlemen. You bet your boots on that. Now, Ms. Collins said, quote, I think when they are out doing enforcement operations, for example, going after someone who is here illegally and has a criminal record, I'm thinking of the person who killed Laken Riley, for example, and then I think it's very important that they wear body cameras. So there's that one too, folks. Now, of course, the mainstream or legacy media affiliate here, Channel 13 in Portland, when they were down there, Mr. Platner and his protesters, or I should say supporters, I know, can't help but stumble over it, folks. His supporters, we stand corrected, down there in Portland. But CBS 13 reached out to both ICE and Customs and Border Protection on Monday of this week, which would be around the 23rd or 24th of January, to ask how many officers in Maine had been equipped with body cameras by now, if any. They so far have ignored this channel's request. Just a couple of additional comments in the conversations about this particular issue of ICE officers being removed from the state of Maine and ICE altogether. One person writes, then how will they be Trump's secret police? Another one writes, is anybody surprised President Trump does not want body cameras? It inhibits his ability to gaslight us when every interaction is memorialized. And one more. Another one writes, they can wear body cams, but then the footage will mysteriously disappear when there's another murder. Got it all figured out, huh? Doubt it. Now, if there are any other questions, especially from you, ladies and gentlemen, the law-abiding we the people, general public, what is going down? And what is false marketing and fake news by, again, leftist radicals like Mr. Platner? God only knows. In the meantime, folks, always stay in touch with us. At Firm. Fairness in Reporting Media at gmail.com. Fairness in Reporting Media at gmail.com. We are all about truth, facts, reality, and common sense. And Hopefully we have one final question for you. Came over our website here, or I should say our emails. What do you say to this question right here, folks? Raise your hand if you have completely stopped believing the mainstream media. Think about that one, folks. Mark Merrill here for Firm, and for you always, folks. Our podcasts are always on YouTube and Twitter, or X, 24 hours a day. We welcome your subscriptions and your comments. Stay safe. Pray for our country and our state going forward. Peace to all.